Welcome back. We're still on day 13. Got cut off again. Whoops. Forgot to delete my old videos, and my phone memory is quite full at the moment, so that could have been something I'd sorted out in quarantine, couldn't it? Oh well. I was just discussing about prison sentences before I got cut off, and discussing how we hear about long prison sentences or what we think are short prison sentences and perhaps form a judgment about how easy that's going to be on the prisoner, how it's not much of a punishment, 5 years for beating this person half to death, or you know, for some kind of fraud where someone's stolen, embezzled millions of pounds from a company and they're going to get 15 years or something. Like I said, I'm not going to judge whether those punishments were appropriate or not. I'm just making them up, off the top of my head. But the idea that doing a few years in prison is anything short of a very harsh punishment, I think needs challenging. Like I think any length of time in prison is a harsh punishment, is a strong punishment for somebody, and this has come from experience with a friend who ended up being in prison in Taiwan for only a few weeks, a minor incident, and he was, I think, maybe 8 weeks or something, and he talked about it as one of the most horrendous, awful experiences of his life. Of course, in prison it's different to what I'm in. You're in a more social environment, but potentially a more dangerous environment, and more confusing, and you have even less power. You have to do what you're told at all times, and so he talked about how bad that was, and mainly because of the boredom and not being allowed to do anything in Taiwanese prison. Often it sounds like it's not like the prison we see on TV sometimes, where prisoners get to do activities and get to do like work details and that sort of thing. He said it was mostly sitting in a cell doing nothing for all day long, 23 hours a day or something. I think they get some exercise time. So obviously prison experiences differ, but one takeaway that I would get just from my little taster of what it might like to be in prison is that it is a horrendous thing to do to somebody. It's a punishment that is going to really hurt that person, and of course that's why we have punishments, right? Prison sentences, criminal justice system should of course also be about rehabilitation and getting people back out into society intact, so they can be productive members of society and things. And you hear a lot about how prison doesn't help that, and how it actually takes what little chance someone has to turn their life around and basically flushes it down the toilet when they come out. Often they're a little bit broken, possibly more likely to reoffend, in fact almost certainly more likely to reoffend, and have perhaps new connections, criminal connections, mental health problems, less going on in their life than they did before they went in prison and things. So I don't want to get too off topic, but the punishment aspect of prison is something I think we should all realize and take seriously, that it's not a picnic, it's not a cushy number to get sent to prison, even for a short amount of time, like less than a year. And as those years stack up, when you find yourself thinking, oh, 5 years for doing this is nothing. I mean, it is something. whether it should be more or less, I don't know, but it's going to be really, really hard for that person, and it's going to take a massive toll on them. So I think it is a punishment, and we should recognize that. I mean, it made me also think. I've always had a rule: don't get sent to prison, Jonathan. That's always been one of my life rules: is don't end up in prison, because I don't think I would do very well in prison. I mean, with this pretty face, obviously, um, things might be difficult. But no, I mean, on a serious note, I think mentally I wouldn't be good at it. I wouldn't be good at dealing with people in a prison situation, and I wouldn't be able to deal with the isolation and the powerlessness of the situation. So it's reinforced that life goal or anti-goal or whatever we're going to call it of not going to prison has become something even more cemented in my mind. So yes, when the nice man in Indonesia asks you to carry something back in your suitcase, and offers you a few £1,000 to do it, don't do it. I certainly won't. I don't want to ever end up in this situation again. Even quarantine, I would not go traveling again in Taiwan if I had to, outside of Taiwan, rather during this pandemic. Now knowing what is involved in the quarantine process. Not that I regret going back. I don't. I absolutely would make that decision again to go back and see family and visit the UK again and sort of reconnect. That's something I don't regret at all. But I might have planned possibly a holiday in the summer if this had been easy breezy. Go out and have a couple of weeks in the Philippines or something, go surfing, and then come back and do quarantine. No chance. I won't be going out again until Taiwan lifts the quarantine restrictions, however long that takes. So yeah, that says something about what it's been like in here. I also thought I'd just reflect a little bit on how I felt personally in here in terms of the system and how it could perhaps be better. And I'm quite surprised at coming to the end of this period about, to be honest, how little the authorities that are sort of organized the quarantine and made the rules. I mean, they either don't know what it's like for people to be in here or they don't care, really. I suspect it's a mixture of the two, but that the latter, the not caring might be a part of it because it's a voluntary thing going traveling. So these people have chosen to go out, and therefore whatever happens to them when they come back, they sort of deserve it, or need to put up with it and shut up. And to be honest, I was of the same mindset before doing it myself. I would have agreed. Having done it, I think that they haven't done it as well as they could have done, put it that way. I think the idea that you can put people in a room for 14 days, not letting them go out to exercise outside at all, is a bad policy. It's wrong. You hear stories in the news about people breaking out of quarantine and being fined horrendous amounts of money. Well, I can sort of understand why people might do that now, even facing a huge fine in order to get out for a little while. And perhaps if they changed some things, organized a way to let people get out, even if it's only into a car park or something, in a low risk environment for people that had tested negative multiple times, if there was a way of allowing them a safe way to get out for a little while, I think it's possible. Logistically, might take a bit of organization and planning, but yeah, it's like law in the USA in prison that prisoners must be allowed out of their cells for an hour every day to go outside and exercise. It's pretty much a thing you'll find anywhere in the world. And not having that, not being allowed to do that, makes this a lot worse than it should be. That idea that I could get out once a day would have a huge effect on my mood and my sleep, I think, and just generally how I got on in here. Not being able to do that is harsh. So there's that aspect. There's also the idea that I don't feel like they check in regularly. I mean, I get someone asking me if I have any COVID symptoms once every 3 or 4 days, and then pretty much hanging up the phone straight after. No one's checking how you're doing. No one's like checking in on your mental well-being, asking you if you know, have any anxiety or any problems, or there's no sort of counseling or anything for people that might need it, because there's no doubt people that doing this to would, if they were already slightly fragile, already suffering from depression or something, this could be really, really bad for somebody. So the fact that there's no like real check-ins, there's no guidance of what to expect, or telling you what you should prepare or what you should do. It's very much you get in and you're treated like a sort of prisoner, directed to your room and told what you're not allowed to do, and very little care, I feel, about the fact that there's people that they're locking up for 2 weeks who aren't going to see light of day basically for 2 weeks, in my case. And yeah, it's little wonder that they're getting these breakouts, in my opinion, and obviously those people are getting fined, and that's hard on them, and I've also put other people at risk, presumably, by doing it. Yeah, so it could be avoided if they try to think a little bit about what they're expecting of people. And you can come up with a 14-day quarantine rule based on the science of vaccine, incubation periods and infectiousness periods and all this sort of thing. Fine, you've come up with your number, but surely you also have to consider, is it a reasonable thing to put someone in a room for 2 weeks and not let them out, even for a little bit of exercise? For me, it's not reasonable. I'm surprised to find myself complaining about this, because I have supported Taiwan's quarantine measures, and general COVID-like responses. Everything that they've done, I've more or less been behind and believed it was necessary, and the ultra-cautious approach has worked well for Taiwan. But there has to be a little bit of a balance when it comes to something like this, I think. 14 days is too long, especially after, by day 10, providing no less than 4 negative COVID tests. And the fact that people who are doing the 7+7 quarantine program that I've discovered, I'm doing this one because I don't have a place to go and do like self-isolation for 7 days when I leave. But I've discovered the people who are doing the 7 days in the hotel and then being allowed to go home to do self-isolation, those people are allowed to go out. They're allowed to go out, and they have restricted activities, so they're not supposed to go to crowded places, night markets, public transport they're not allowed to go on, that kind of stuff. But they're allowed to go out for walks. So why, after being in here for 7 days, aren't I allowed to go out for a walk? It doesn't feel very fair or reasonable, and so do a little bit better, Taiwan, I think, on this. I suspect it's partly just the fact that the people that made the rules don't know. Maybe people don't tell them, or maybe they have never had to do it themselves. But there you go. So I did feel quite alone in here in terms of actual support coming from the government or the authorities or even the hotel. Like, even the hotel haven't really asked. I mean, they text me to remind me that I need to do things, but they never once like text me saying like, hey, is everything okay today? Are you doing all right? Again, whether they don't know how hard it is or whether they don't care, a little bit of the two. But yeah, I felt pretty much on my own. You're relying on support from outside, you're relying on support from your family and your friends if you don't have any, or you don't have many. Perhaps everyone's in different time zones and things. It's going to be really, really hard, even harder than it has been. So yeah, perhaps the people that are making the rules just don't realize, but basically putting someone in a room and giving them food and water and Wi-Fi is not enough to sustain a person in good shape, in good mental health through 2 weeks of solitary confinement, in my opinion. So anyway, there's the serious bit out of the way. But yeah, on a broader sort of note, what we need as people, I guess I'm saying, goes beyond the food and water and shelter, the basic requirements that we list when we talk about what you need to, survive. And we do take freedom for granted in that little equation when we say what do people need to survive. The mind needs to survive as well. So there you go. These are some of my thoughts and conclusions. I am sure I'll have more to add tomorrow. I guess tomorrow I'll be in a pretty upbeat mood. So I don't want to be complaining and everything on my last day, so I thought I'd get the complaints in now. Yeah, I'm just really, really happy that it will be over soon. So not much else to say. Thanks again for watching all of these, and in that way being my company in here and commenting, and thanks for all the messages I've had from people, and the people that have sent me things and the support. Yeah, it's been great, and it's been what has got me through. So I'm going to probably watch a film, maybe do a little bit of VR. Didn't do any VR today. Did quite a long workout, but didn't do any VR. So there's a robot I need to beat on the table tennis simulator. I beat my nemesis robot, by the way, who I've never been able to overcome before. So got past him, and there's a new robot who's insane. Well, his serve is, if I can return the serve, then I've done well. So need to beat my robot nemesis. I need to relax, watch something, probably not play any chess tonight so I can sleep, get up early for my COVID test, yeah, we'll soon be in the final day, the last day. So next time you see me, I will be only hours away from freedom, which is an exciting thought. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Until tomorrow, I'll say bye for now.